Hello, you are all of you are welcome to the video lecture series of chemistry in Suresh Ganviar University. Today I discuss the relevant with the most of the chemicals, and those are certainly we have the usefulness or whatever their avoidance because of the number of chemicals are toxic in nature and they gives us health hazards in our life, whatever those particular uh, chemicals are added into our life with the what we are using. So definitely certain chemicals are toxic and which are available in the environment in the form of whatever their utility. For example, if pesticides which are used for the agriculture purpose, and with the help of pesticides, different pests are killed by those toxic chemicals, and whereas those pesticides are in agriculture produce different crops and pulses and different vegetables, and those pesticides come towards the human being by consuming those products, as well as the remaining pesticides go inside to the water percolation, so inside the earth. So therefore, and that particular those toxic materials come towards the human being by the consuming water itself. So therefore, certain chemicals are very toxic, and there are the short-term or long-term effects on human being, such as many of the complications occurs in our body because of the certain pollutants. These pollutants are present in the environment, and what we can see where are these pollutants present and how these generated in the atmosphere, in the environment, whatever we have already discussed in the environment components, where the four different components are there. The hydrosphere, so water related issues, and water resources, different water resources in the environment. So first one is the hydrosphere, the another one is the atmosphere. What about the atmosphere? All around the earth. So certain kilometer the atmosphere is available around the earth. So that atmosphere, number of pollutants are added because of the human activities. So therefore they have also the adverse effect. So hydrosphere, then the atmosphere, then the part of the land. And in case of the land, that is the lithosphere. So we have the geological aspect of the Earth, that is the lithosphere. So in case of the lithosphere, whatever the soil is also included. So there may be the also the pollution. So lithosphere, then we have the biosphere. How we get the different pollutants in the biosphere? Different plants and animals. Whatever when the farmers using the pesticides, which are the toxic one. So those pesticides go inside us through the consumption of the food. So food is available from that. So biosphere, that is the part of the plant, even the fishes, whatever the animal food. So therefore, definitely they have also certain pollutants with those, because those whatever the pesticides or whatever the toxic materials are thrown into the water resources. So therefore, definitely there will be the toxicity inside our body. So what's today we have to discuss about the different pollutions. Different pollutions, whatever the overall pollution, and that is the around us. So what about around us? Definitely, most one we require the water. So water may be polluted because of the certain pollutants. And what are those particular pollutants and what are their health hazards? So today we have to start the environmental pollution, and all of you are well known about the environment. That is, we have already discussed about the water, about the air, about the land, about the plants and animals, all those around us. Whatever those can be also distinguished into the biotic and abiotic component. Biotic components that relates with the life. Abiotic, whatever those are non-living things, non-living articles, whatever we have the sand, with the air, the soil, the plastics, the utensils, all those are the abiotic. Here we can see the mobile, laptop, whatever we have, the electrical appliances. So certainly those are the abiotic, and biotic itself the different number of plants, um, and as well as the number of animals. So that is the part of the environment. Now the ecosystem, this one is one of the system formed by interaction of living with non-living and form a system for the sustainability. So whatever we are using that particular ecosystem, and all are in, we are in the ecosystem, because different abiotic and biotic components are interacted, and then we get the system. So therefore, the sustainability of human being also depends on the ecosystem. Ecosystem itself is the whatever that is the interaction of living and non-living and formation. For example, in our campus, university having the different plants, different animals, including the human being. So those are the um, living things, living organisms, and non-living, whatever the soil, whatever the stones, whatever the building, whatever the plastics. So different items are non-living, and overall they form a system for the sustainability. Whatever if plant grow, so that therefore the plant need certain chemicals. So those certain nutrients are obtained from the soil and water. So their sustainability, whatever the living organism sustainability can be checked with the ecosystem. However, there are various ecosystems. Then we have already discussed the lithosphere, whatever the atmosphere, then the hydrosphere, and different seas, different rivers, hydro. Then we have the whatever, then the biosphere. So four parts are there. Then we one more thing is there. What do you mean by the material? Because material itself is uh, one of the part of our system, any of the things, whatever we are using. For example, if we are using the manure for the agriculture produce, so that particular manure is the material. Even when we have to see the toothpaste or whatever the toothbrush, so those contain certain materials. So therefore, some ingredients are present in a toothpaste. So those are the materials itself. Whatever, then we have the certain articles are there, whatever the items, suppose we have the table, the chair, those are the article, specs, whatever, all those are the so different articles are there, then different machines. Now one more thing is all of you are arranged in a where. So most important is the elements, the compounds, the chemicals, whatever that. So here different elements are arranged in a specific periodic table. For example, H stand for the hydrogen. So that is the element, example of element copper Cu. That is the example of the element. Then oxygen O. That is the example of element. So all those are arranged in a systematic order, and that particular tabular form. So what we have in tabular form, different elements are arranged, and that specific table itself is called the periodic table. So, periodic table of elements. So, number of elements are there, including the carbon, the nitrogen, the lithium, the neon, number of chemicals we have. So here, whatever those chemicals, those compounds have certainly the toxicity. For example, if suppose we have the acids, so what are those particular acids? Those are the sour in nature. So therefore, the acids, for example, if suppose we have the sulfuric acid, so in case of the sulfuric acid, H2SO4. So when we put the open the bottle of sulfuric acid in and there, so in that particular case, certain gases are liberated in sulfuric acid, and those certain gases are corrosive in nature. So definitely you can say that corrode anything, whatever. If we are sitting nearby the sulfuric acid, and whereas the different industries are also do the produce the sulfuric acid, so therefore it is very difficult to answer. Then how we can say that a particular chemical is toxic or non-toxic? Certainly, those chemicals accumulated inside our body, and definitely they will hazard us. I have discussed earlier the sulfuric acid. So, in case of the sulfuric acid, sulfur trioxide gas is continuously liberated in the atmosphere. So, therefore, what happened? That particular thing, sulfuric acid, have the health hazards because that is the corrosive in nature. So, in that particular area, even the metals also undergo the process of the corrosion because the gases liberated from the sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid, this and those gases are corrosive in nature. So certainly they corrode us, corrode that particular. So now we have to, so different hazards are there. So here in environment, number of chemicals are available since the last 50 to 60 years. A great number of chemicals are added. Up till now, there are to 70 60 to 70 lakh of chemicals are available. Whatever the 6 to 7 million number of compounds, number of chemicals are available. However, their potentiality also there. So how they these particular elements affects the particular system. So here I have discussed about the hydrochloric acid. In case of the hydrochloric acid, continuously the corrosion happen in that particular area because of the hydrogens. Chloride gas itself is the continuously liberated from the system where this is stored. So therefore, it is very difficult to answer that which chemical is toxic and which is non-toxic. So therefore, we have to see the environmental pollution, and in this particular context, whatever the environment pollution can be defined as any undesirable change. Whatever the changes in the composition, undesirable change. What happened? If suppose we have the air, and air, air undergo the process of the pollution. So definitely in that particular area. So whatever then the changes in the composition of air. Air itself, when we have to see the composition of air, about 79% is the nitrogen, and about 20% is the oxygen. So what happened? So that is the composition of the air. Whatever, how we get that particular composition with by the testing. So in testing of that particular atmosphere, that particular air. So here that particular testing is done. So therefore here the environmental pollution, the definition will be the air, the any undesirable change. What about the change? If the amount of carbon dioxide is added in the air, so definitely the whole atmosphere will be polluted. So whatever those particular are the undesirable changes in the definite composition. So whatever if suppose water and water having the undefinite uh, uh, the there is the definite composition, but whatever if any toxic materials are added into the water because of the nature of the water. So whatever the nature of water, this water is the universal solvent. So definitely number of chemicals are added into the water resources, and definitely those particular water can be controlled with the help of the system. So therefore, environmental pollution can be defined as any undesirable changes in physical, whatever the appearance, whatever the physical status. So here the liquid, the semi-solid, solid gases. So whatever undesirable change means in that particular case, the pollutants are added definitely. Whatever that, for example, in case of the metabolic system of human being, so therefore they have here the number of pollutants are added. So environmental pollution can be defined as any undesirable change in physical, the chemical, biological characteristics of any of the component of the environment. What are those components? Undesirable atmosphere. Then the lithosphere, the part of the water. So water can be also cleaned for that purpose. So here the system what we have, then we can come towards the other essential commodity, essential articles, and those are the air one most thing because of the oxygen. So presently the COVID-19 case, there was for those critical patients from the COVID-19, and they have the requirement of the oxygen. So oxygen itself, that is of the medical oxygen, is required to for the sustainability of that. So therefore, what we have, air, water, soil, which can cause harmful effects of various form of life on property. So therefore, that is correlated with the different things. So now the physical, the biological, the chemical, physical itself, whatever there may be the modification, there may be the alteration, there may be the chance of the printing. So number of these things are there. Now we have the next one, and here the pollution. What about the meaning of the pollution and polluted? Two things are there. So if suppose we have the water, okay, and that particular water contains, for example, if we have to add the salt in water. So whatever when we added the salt in water, so definitely what will be the changes? In the water, because of the nature of water, the salt which became the soluble in that particular. So this is the one of the aspect that what things we are added into the water. So still the water itself is the contaminated. Contamination means whatever there is the difference between the contamination and the pollution. Contaminants one thing, pollutant another thing. They are opposite in the nature. So I have given the example, the salt is added into the glass of the water. So therefore we get the salinity in that particular solution, and easily water get dissolved those particular material. So therefore pollutant and whatever we have the contaminant, there is difference. So what happen when we have to see the saline water, that is the whatever the sodium chloride water, so that is the contamination. Contamination means anything in the anything. So whatever in water, if oxygen is there, if carbon dioxide, dissolved carbon dioxide is there, dissolved oxygen is there. So definitely, therefore, we have the contaminants and pollutants. because in case of the contaminant, most of the whatever the calcium, all of you know about the calcium. So in case of the calcium, what happen? Uh, those accumulates, those are the better uh, for our the system. But calcium can be obtained from the water also. But if suppose that is above the limit, so definitely that will be the system. How we can say that particular is the more and more. So therefore, pollution and pollutant, two things are there. In case of the pollution, the term pollution can be defined. Whatever the different definitions are there in of pollution. So the term pollution, whatever the can be defined as the influential of any substances uh, causing nuisance, the harmonic effect, one thing, and the uneasiness. So uneasiness. The thing is there, uneasiness to the organism. So whatever, if suppose nearby us the carbon mm, flame atmosphere is there, so that particular air is contaminated by the carbon dioxide. So definitely that will be the pollution. So here the toxicity, whatever the question is there, that particular toxicity appears. So therefore uh, pollution is the term, okay, and pollution is the term for that particular we can say pollution is the term, and this can be defined as the influence of any substance causing nuisance. Nuisance means whatever we have the difficulty in that particular things. So we get the difficulty nuisance. For example, if noise is continuously we are listening some heavy music, and we get the nuisance. So that particular itself is the pollution. So the term pollution can be defined as the influence of any substance, whatever that particular substance. I have discussed about the pesticides. So the influence of the pesticides, and that causes harmful effect also. Whatever those, because pesticides are toxic in nature and they have harmful effect on a human body. So those the system is pollution because of the pesticide. For example, in case of the water, if arsenic is available and that arsenic having that harmful effect for human being, even the skin disease are because of the arsenic contamination, arsenic pollution in the water. So that particular arsenic itself is called the pollutant, and that the process is the pollution. So the, because arsenic have the health hazards. And what about those health hazards? And so therefore, what we can say that particular arsenic itself is the toxic in nature. So that is particular whatever that will effects are the health hazards. Pollutant, any substance causing nuisance or harmful effect. So this one is the or uneasiness of the organism when they substance may be called as the pollutant. So substance are the pollutant. Now we have a few examples of the pollutants, and one most is the carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide and sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide. Whatever these are the chemical structure also. So here the one is the carbon atom and two are the oxygen. So what we have the carbon dioxide, one carbon, two oxygen. That is the CO2. CO2 itself is the carbon dioxide. How we get the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere? All of you are well known about that. When our respiration, whatever that particular respiration, exhalation, and inhalation, air respirates with the help of the nose and respiratory system, including that is the lungs. So, in the respiratory system, what happen? The metabolism and what happen? The metabolism during the metabolism, the energy is generated and then carbon dioxide is released. Similarly, in case of the respiratory system, we exhale, we inhale, the oxygen is there. So what happens? That particular carbon dioxide is accelerated. Similarly, various electricity power plant which run by the coal. So coal itself that can produce when coal is utilized for the purpose of the heating in different industries. So certainly coal produce the carbon dioxide. Similarly, one more thing is there, and that is the carbon monoxide. Whatever the difference between the carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide it's lethal. So if atmosphere of carbon monoxide is there, so definitely living organisms will be no more. Even there are the certain news are available and in which the carbon monoxide itself as a very toxic gases. So we think the toxicity and non-toxicity. So toxicity and intoxication. So that is the very difficult part in the environment. But all of those occurs. So here different pollutants, whatever these are the, on the gaseous basis. Here carbon dioxide. This is also whatever the pollutant as well as the carbon monoxide. This is also pollutant. Even the carbon monoxide is very toxic. So if we have the atmosphere of carbon monoxide, so definitely there will be the suffocation. So what happened in that particular concern? So therefore, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide. I have earlier discussed about the sulfuric acid. So sulfuric acid continuously liberates the sulfur dioxide, sulfur trioxide. One more thing is there. We are using the transportation system. So which fuel is there in transportation system? So anyone can be give answer. Whatever that electricity, one can give the answer. Any of that particular answer is there. So that particular answer must be confident. So what happened during the transportation system? The various material used are the petrol and diesel. So those petroleum petroleum product, diesel and paints. So what happened in those particular case? They are certainly polluted. So here also the nitrogen oxide, the sulfur dioxide, sulfur oxide is also liberated by the combustion of the petroleum products, whatever the combustion of diesel, combustion of different items. So here sulfur dioxide and whereas the nitrogen dioxide is also one of the toxic material and one of the cause for the different toxicity. So therefore, these are the few examples of the pollutant. Now, major type of pollution. Whatever one may ask that which one is the major we are using the toxic materials. In case of the air, whatever the air composition, this air is composition is altered because of the addition of so many other gases. Whatever I have earlier discussed, hydrocarbon. So what happened? The carbon dioxide earlier discussed. The carbon monoxide not completed this particular. So here carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, then with suspended particulate matter. So therefore air will be polluted. Then water is also the pollutant. And water pollution, in that particular case, different pollutants are added into the water. Then I have discussed about the land pollution. So land itself, the major land it is utilized by our infrastructure as well as the farmers are also using that particular land for, and grow the food items, food product. So whatever that if land itself is contaminated, but or not contamination at this moment, that is the polluted. So land itself, soil land is polluted, then definitely we get the hazards because that is also connected with us. Then the soils are also responsible. Then we have the noise pollution, and then we have the radiation pollution. Radiation pollution is also one of the aspect of this particular. So here, because the ultraviolet radiation, so that ultraviolet radiation, UV radiation, because that came from the sun. So definitely radiation pollutions are also there, and because of the radiation, all of you know that a human metabolism this can also be changed. So therefore, electromagnetic radiation, in which the ultraviolet radiation having that particular toxicity. So therefore, radiation. So we have in the environment, the land, the water, the air, the soil, and the noise, as well as the radiation. So different pollutions are there. Whatever we have to relate with the chemicals. Okay, so here different. Now we can came another point, and hazard. This is also one of the important aspect. Hazard is a situation that poses a level of threat of life. This is the condition. So if suppose we have the certain pesticides and which are available in our house, so hazard is a situation that poses a level of threat of life, health, and property of the environment. Environmental hazard is an excellent which has the potential to threaten the surrounding. Whatever this, the threaten the surrounding and natural environment or adversely affect the people's health, including uh, pollution. And the natural disasters also because of those particular pollution. We have already discussed a little with the environmental pollution may be defined already. Unfavorable alteration of our surroundings, whatever there are the number of definitions of the pollution. It changes the quality of air. I have earlier discussed because of that particular aspect. So this alters the quality. Whatever we have to see the standard analysis of water. So that the major amount is the nitrogen, and then 19 to 20% is the. So here we can say unfavorable alteration of our surrounding. It changes the quality of air, water, and land, which interface with the health of human being and other life on the earth. Pollution are of different kinds depending on the nature of pollutant generated from the different pollutant. So here pollution are the different kind of depending on the nature of pollutant. Various examples from where we get the pollution. And there are certainly whatever the certain industrial examples, the automobiles, which definitely I have discussed the number of gases, number of plastics, which would be are not there. So industry, automobile, thermal power plant, farming, nuclear resources, and um, nuclear resources. So that those are also the concern of that particular reactors. And the effect type of pollutant causing the pollution of air, water. So let's say we have the different types of here we can say the land pollution, here we can say the air pollution, here the water pollution, but that affects the human being. Now we have the one of the most important part, and that is nuclear pollution, nuclear hazard pollution. Or hazard effects can be either initial stage or then residential second stage. So nuclear hazards allow so this is the nuclear hazards, nuclear pollution is also the example of the environmental concern. So here Because of the nuclear activity, certain radioactive materials are emitted into the atmosphere, and those we have the immediate area of explosion and are hazardous immediately after this explosion, whereas the residential effect can last for days or years for days. So here we have the whatever the nuclear radiations, nuclear pollution is also relevant because we have the environment, whole of the environment. So the nuclear power plants are run. How the nuclear power plant produce the electricity? So what are those? So here in the cases of that particular thing. So environmental pollution, we have the certain multiple choice question. Substance which causes pollution is known as which of the following? A substance, whatever that particular substance, and that causes pollution is individual which of the following? For example, the whatever there may be the pollutant, there may be the carcinogen, there may be pollutant element, irritant. The right answer is the A. What happened? In case of the right answer, a substance is causing pollution is called as the pollutant. Simple thing, but that will not be complicated. Whatever that and then the answer. So causing in a pollutant can be solid, liquid, or gaseous substances present in greater concentration than in natural. So abundance and uh, produced due to human activities or due to natural happening. Carcinogens are the substances if exposed to the which can be cause the cancer. Irritate normally cause the. So now we have the another question. Which of the following is not a constituent of a DDT? One more thing is there. So at the one time when DDT was invented and the concern got the Nobel Prize for the development of DDT because this whatever that at that moment so here the DDT will contain the fluorine or whatever the chlorine. So here the explanation fluorine is carbon, fluorine, and hydrogen. So following is not a constituent of DDT. Here, in case of the DDT, the compound itself is hydrocarbon containing the oxygen, containing the sorry, chlorine. So that is the DDT. Because of that, so here fluorine is not a constituent of DDT. DDT is diphenyl trichloroethane, which has a chemical formula of carbon 14 and hydrogen 9, uh, and carbon is the so here chlorine is the 5. So therefore DDT does not contain fluorine, which is evident from the chemical formula. It's also uh, contains impurities in small quantity. So that is other thing. Now, an average human being requires nearly 12 to 15 times more air than the food. Whatever. This is the correct answer. An average human being requires nearly 12 to 15 times more air than the food. So, what do we have? So, the answer is the A. So, an average human being requires times more air than the food. So, even a small amount of pollutant in the air becomes significant compared to similar level present in the food. So, therefore, the amount of people suffering various disease due to So now we have the contamination of the food. Another question, what is the full form of DDT? Here the correct answer, dichloro, diphenyl, trichloroethane. So the full form of DDT is dichloro, diphenyl, trichloroethane. It is a colorless, the tasteless, itchy or and it is colorless, tasteless, and almost all odors are crystallized chemical compound. It was originally developed as an insecticide, but then it uses was stopped due to its harmful effect on the environment. So DDT itself gives the harmful effect on the environment. So DDT itself is the example of the pollutant. So definitely we are using such. Exposed to high concentration, it can cause the vomiting, seizure, and tremors in the human being. So that is the concern of the DDT. Now we have another question and identify the degradable pollutant from the following: chemical, metal, discarded vegetable, and the plastic. So answer is the discarded vegetable. So here discarded vegetables are detergent pollutants since they are organic, they can be rapidly broken into the atmosphere. So here, degradable pollution from the products, the chemical, the metal, discarded vegetable, because of in those particular discarded vegetables which have that particular thing. So now, degradable. Now, all of you have the more relevant information. What I have given the different environmental conditions. What are those particular environmental conditions for the human being? If suppose human being lives in the mountain, so what happen about the concentration of air and what about the pressure? So in case of the mountain area, the ecosystem, whatever that particular area, so therefore that so different types of pollutions are whatever the air pollution, one thing that is related with the atmosphere, that is related with the air composition. So why that particular pollution is air pollution? Because number of toxic and gases are added continuously inside the body. So therefore, this is one of the major type of. Another is the water. So water having also the various examples of water pollutions, and that is the part of the environment. So in case of the second part of the environment, and the second part is the water. So water related also. Then we have the soil, then the land, then the soil, and noise. Noise is also important concern for a human being because of the so many psychological effects are there for this one. Then we have the soil and noise, and whatever most important thing is the radiation. So in case of the radiation, the different radiations are there, and whatever, for example, the sun rays. So sun rays having the whatever the heating effect related radiation, those are the infrared radiation. Then most of these radiations are invisible. So because of the invisibility, the radiation may be where we get. So ultraviolet radiation may be come down over us. Where whatever the thing is concerned, whatever the research tells us, so so the radiation can causes the different types of disease. Even those are the carcinogenic in nature. So definitely those is the adverse effect. So let's we have one more thing is there, and that is the number of gases are available, and these gases are further pollutants. And definitely, carbon monoxide is one of the very toxic gas. Even with the consumption of the carbon monoxide, the human die because of the carbon and oxygen. Why such the changes in that particular system? So therefore, I again that different plastics, different things, all of those are whatever the environmental reaction. So next we have to complete this presentation. Now, any of the question, if suppose any of the question relevant with this topic or other relevant information, then we have all of you are welcome to discuss about the knowledge sharing, and definitely whatever I can give the answer, whatever those I got information, I got the experience regarding the answering of the any of the question, but that particular question must be so. So my mobile number, those are given in the place Gangware University, as well as other things are also. So I have the email ID also. So anyone can share me their respective knowledge sharing for that. So all of you are welcome for the discussion. Suresh Kanmar University is one of the premier university and already get the rank certification, and therefore uh, the heights of the Suresh Ganwar University are more and more. Even the one thing is there, and human resources of Suresh Ganwar University is very perfection, the perfection stage, and definitely those are. Uh, so anyone can ask me. Okay, all the best. So best wishes for that. Okay, thank you. Thank you for listening to the patient. And again, thank you for all of you. Okay, all the best. Yes. So, all the best. Okay, all the best.